Will Windlaw.
Hello, this is Brian. I have summited Will Thrall Peak with my friend Brett, and another very challenging hike all the way from the Buckhorn Campground, down Burkhart Trail, up Burkhart Trail to Burkhart Saddle, and then at the saddle you're going to turn left and you're going to take the steep use trail up to here. This is Will Thrall Peak. This is actually not the highest peak on the ridge. That, I believe, is over there, which is probably about 7,980 feet. Here is probably about 7,800 something. I forget the actual peak elevation. But there was a placard left up here by the Sierra Club over 50 years ago, and it reads, "Dedicated to the memory of Will Thrall, 1873 to 1963, explorer, author, editor, authority, and historian of the San Gabriel Mountains." One of his quotes: "There's physical, mental, and moral strength to be found on a mountain peak," which I could not agree with more. And this was dedicated by Native Sons of the Golden West, Walton P. Rako, Grand President, Sierra Club, June 26, 1965. This is a challenging hike. It's not a very easy one, because you have to go down the Burkhart Trail from Buckhorn Campground, and if you want to avoid paying the $12 camping fee just for parking for day use, which you have to, unfortunately, you have to park near Angeles Crest Highway and hike the extra distance down to the Burkhart Trailhead, which we had to do today because I didn't have cash, my friend didn't have cash, and we weren't trying to pay $12. But you got to go down to Cooper Canyon, and then you get down to the bottom. The elevation ranges from about 6,500 feet at the top of Angeles Crest Highway on the east side of Buckhorn Campground, which is the exit route to get out, and you got to go follow it down to about the 6,400 foot mark where the Burkhart Trail starts, and then you go down and down and down this extremely lush forest of sugar pine, Jeffrey pine, ponderosa pine. Ponderosa pine becomes the prevalent pine for quite a stretch down Cooper Canyon. So it's very lush, very large old growth incense cedars. And then you get to the bottom of the canyon, then you start to climb up the more exposed south and west facing slopes, where it tends to get a lot hotter. So you got to climb up and up to a Burkhart Saddle, which is situated at 6,957 feet, and then you take the use trail to this summit. If you turn left at the saddle, you turn left at the narrow use trail. It's fairly steep, it's definitely a workout, and you proceed for maybe about 3/4 of a mile, maybe, roughly about that, and then you come up to that placard. So you know you're here at Will Thrall Peak. Here is looks like some kind of summit register, but it's all smashed. It says placed by the Sierra Club, the 100 Peaks section. So knowing that this is actually the peak and not that, to me is good, because that looks like another tough climb, and this was tough enough for my friend and me, I should say. Since this is an exposed slope, we got a lot more Jeffrey pine than is Jeffrey, and we have a lot of curly Circocarpus Ledifolius variety intermontanus. And then now we're going to start our descent back to Burkhart Saddle. I will see you at the saddle when we get there. As we're hiking down, there's Powell Mountain, which is on the other side of Burkhart Saddle, coming up from the campground, the Buckhorn. That would be a turn that'd be a right turn going up that ridge, which looks equally as steep as this. I wanted to try to summit that one today too, but since I haven't been hiking as much, I'm a little more out of shape than I was a few months ago when I was doing regular hiking every other week at least. sometimes back-to-back weeks when my work schedule permitted, but now with work and everything, it's hard to get a lot of hiking time like I used to. But I'm very pleased that my friend and I made it up to the top of Will Thrall, which is higher than Powell Mountain, but I think Powell Mountain, as beautiful as it looks from here, I think I'm going to abstain from it today. It's already about close to 3 o'clock, so we're going to start heading down the mountain, because once we get to the saddle, it's 5 miles just to the trailhead, so it's probably about between 5 and 6 miles back to Angeles Crest Highway, where my car is parked. I will see you this time at the saddle to show you what it looks like. So when you come up, normally I shoot my videos on the way up, but this time I figured I'd shoot them on the way down a little bit. But this is a lovely area. This is in the Pleasant View Ridge Wilderness. You'll see that sign as soon as you hit the end of Buckhorn Campground, as you start going down. So like I said, you got to go down to Cooper Canyon from 6,500 feet down to 5,600 feet, and then you got to climb to 6,900 feet just to get to the saddle, and about 7,800 and so feet to get to Will Thrall, and then Powell Mountain over there is 7,780 feet. And I'll see you at the saddle. Well, here I am just about at the saddle. The post right there indicates the 5-mile mark from the beginning of the Burkhart Trail on the Buckhorn Campground side. And what happens is it goes down about 6 or so miles towards the Devil's Punch Bowl area, which is pretty decent hike from here too. This is the Burkhart Saddle. This way goes to Devil's Punch Bowl. This way goes back to Buckhorn Campground. We have a fair amount of elevation loss coming up. Then we're going to have some elevation gain, some more loss, and then some more gain. So we still got a ways to go. We're going to go take a last water break before we start heading down. Thanks for watching. Hello, this is Brian again. This is Cooper Canyon, one of the luscious areas I have ever seen in the San Gabriels. We're surrounded by 150-foot ponderosa pines and incense cedars that are hundreds and hundreds of years old. And this is Cooper Canyon Falls, kind of a small, humble little spot, probably a raging torrent during the spring snowmelt. And judging by the moisture here, we have lots of white alder, even upland from the creeks, because there are occasional natural springs around here. This is a white alder, Alnus rhombifolia, a winter deciduous tree in the birch family, Betulaceae. Very common. And my friend Brett just spotted a very tall 140-foot ponderosa pine, and this guy, it's hard to see from the video, but it has a lot of green cones, so it looks like it's going to have a pretty good year. As a lot of the other ponderosa pines in the area are doing the same. In fact, this part of the forest, the pines, the yellow pines are predominantly ponderosas, as opposed to most other places I've been to here in the San Gabriels, which are usually Jeffrey pines. But we do have quite a few ponderosa pines around here, and some very girthy incense cedars, and even some white firs. And we're probably about 5,600, 5,700 feet in elevation. We're heading up the Burkhart Trail back to the campground, the Buckhorn Campground. So we got a ways to go. Probably about big white fir right here.
Yes,
along the way.
Yes, combs. Yeah, combs. I see a few of them.
So it looks, hopefully the white firs will reproduce better. This is one of the largest white firs I've seen in the San Gabriels. Well, height-wise, this is probably like about 160, 170 feet. Yeah, this is there is another humongous white fir across the street from Buckhorn Campground at the 6,500, 6,600 foot elevation mark, which we'll pass on our way out. That's about 180 feet. Very tall, very lofty tree. But here we are coming up on some more ponderosa pines and incense cedars. Ponderosas generally have more of a yellowish bark when they get to the full adult stage. They start out with brownish, grayish, furrowed bark that is kind of dark, so they call them blackjacks. Similar with Jeffrey pines, they start out the same way. So do the related Coulter pines and gray pines, which are in the subsection Ponderosae. But this is a ponderosa, a yellow belly is what they call it. And you can see the big plates and very large stature. These are very large trees here. A lot of these trees are easily 150, 160 feet tall, and make Cooper Canyon now one of my favorite spots in the Angeles National Forest. I haven't seen Ice House Canyon yet. I heard there's a lot of big trees there. There are a lot of big trees there, but never been there. But yeah, see, I'm heading back towards Buckhorn Campground, which is the trail going up this way. We do have a nice uphill ascent. And then this is Cooper Canyon. Probably get you closer to the falls, but... And a very tall, probably about 180 foot ponderosa pine straight ahead. It's hard to see with my camera, but very large trees here. These are some of the largest trees I have ever seen in the San Gabriel Mountains. And some of these trees are even larger than the ones I've seen in the San Bernardinos, which are a lusher mountain range. Here's an unopened green cone that's just about at maturity. You notice the prickles point straight out on the unopened green cones. What that means is when a cone opens... That one is pretty close, actually. It's pretty close. Well, ponderosa cones tend to stay smaller than Jeffrey pines cones, which are larger, and the cone scale prickles point down. The ponderosas point down and out. So you go by the phrase gentle Jeffrey, prickly ponderosa. Well, my friend's getting ready to shoot a photo. I mean, it's hard to pick one single spot to take a picture. So I figured do one more quick video before I sign off. At least one more video. Because this is the essence of the Angeles National Forest. This is surrounded by 180-foot white fir trees. It is. I've never seen trees this large in the Angeles National Forest until coming to the Burkhart Trail and the Buckhorn Campground area, which is probably about a mile and probably about a mile or so, mile and a half uphill from here, or up trail. And then we gotta walk through the campground to get to the top, which should also be pretty shady and relaxing. This is a beautiful area. I so highly recommend hiking this way. Even if you don't go all the way to Will Thrall Peak, or even all the way to Burkhart Saddle, at least a saunter through these forests is in order. I think this is probably one of my favorite hikes, one of my favorite day hikes ever, considering how beautiful it is here. I mean, the hike up to Will Thrall and Burkhart Saddle is pretty tough because you got a lot of uphill on the way back, but it's a lot cooler and shadier here. Once you get down to the bottom and start going uphill from the saddle, it's a lot more exposed. But over here, I'm going uphill at a very leisurely pace because I'm too busy enjoying these beautiful trees. I very highly recommend the Burkhart Trail. However long you want to hike it, even just to stop off in the Buckhorn Campground because there are very large, lush trees there. But here, it just continues and it becomes mostly ponderosa down here. I mean, I saw some Jeffreys here and there, but down in this canyon, it's Ponderosaville. I very highly recommend this hike. I think a nice leisurely stroll, at least to the deep forested parts of Cooper Canyon, is in order. Because, I mean, I've never been to Ice House Saddle, like I said, and I'm sure there's supposed to be some large incense cedars there too, but and I still have to check that out. I want to check that out, but right now I'm loving being here with these yellow pines, the Ponderosa yellow pines, Pinus ponderosa variety pacifica, also known as Pinus ponderosa variety ponderosa, depending on who's the author. And some people even call it Pacific ponderosa, Pinus ponderosa subspecies benthamiana. So very confusing taxon. But one thing that's not confusing is how enormously beautiful and enormously sized the trees are.